Hello everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to dive into the emotional journey of Ly and Tutieu, a story filled with love, family conflict, and the struggles of holding on when everything seems to fall apart. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss the next chapters of this dramatic and heartfelt series. A new day began, sunlight spilling softly across the windows. Tutieu stood quietly, her heart heavy yet grateful. "Hello, my dear friends," she whispered, almost as though speaking both to herself and to the world. She wanted to thank everyone who had encouraged her, who had stayed by her side. Their support gave her strength to keep moving forward. She wished for health and peace for everyone in the new week, then turned to tidy the house. The simple act of cleaning gave her comfort, a way to sweep away the tangled feelings inside her chest. Just then, her mother appeared, suitcase in hand. She had packed lightly. She never intended to stay long. "I've been here for some days already," she explained. "It's time for me to go back. Lynn is at home, and I worry about her." Tutieu begged her to stay a little longer, but her mother's tone was firm. "Ly bought this land for you, but I don't want you living here. I can't forget what his family did. His mother hurt us deeply, and because of her, I lost you for so many years. How can I forgive?" Tutieu's heart clenched. "Mother, I know the past was cruel, but Ly is different. He's the reason I survived. He cared for me when you weren't here. He gave me stability. He gave me hope. And it was because of him that I finally found you again." But her mother only shook her head. "I can't allow you to stay. If you won't come back with me, I'll send someone to bring you home." Her words cut like knives. Tutieu whispered, "Mother," but it was no use. Her mother left, leaving behind a silence heavy with anger and love. Ly arrived not long after, his presence steady, his voice calm. He could see the pain in Tutieu's eyes. He sat with her, listening as she poured out her heart. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "On one side, I have my mother, the woman I lost for so long, who finally came back to me. On the other, I have you, the man who's always cared for me, always carried me through my darkest days. Both of you mean everything to me. How can I choose?" Ly reached for her hand. His grip was warm, grounding. "You don't have to choose," he told her gently. "I'll stand with you no matter what. I know my mother's past may have hurt yours, but I'm not her. I'll do whatever it takes to heal the pain between our families. I just don't want to lose you." Tutieu's tears welled. She thought of the birds she had been raising. Tiny chicks just hatched, doves multiplying fast. They needed safe homes, small shelters from the rain. As she built little houses for them, she realized how much she longed for the same. A home filled with peace, where love wasn't torn by hatred. Ly watched her work with quiet admiration. He'd seen her struggle for so long. To him, Tutieu was more than someone he loved. She was someone he wanted to protect, someone worth fighting for. Yet even as he vowed to bring her happiness, the shadow of their mother's conflict loomed large. The past was not easily erased, and Tutieu, caught between filial love and romantic devotion, found herself sinking deeper into confusion. She turned to her friends, to the ones who listened to her story. "What should I do?" she asked softly. "How do I hold on to both the mother who gave me life and the man who has given me love. Uri noticed how exhausted Tutieu looked. Her smile, usually gentle and bright, was weighed down by worries. He guided her to sit down, brushing the dust from her hands after working with the birds. "You've been carrying everything alone for too long," he said softly. "Your animals, your home, your family, even your pain. You always try to handle it all by yourself. But you don't have to anymore. Let me share this burden with you." Tutieu looked at him, her eyes glistening. "Uri, if only things were that simple. My mother sees you as a blessing to me, but she cannot forgive your family. She looks at you and remembers her suffering. Every word she says feels like a wall between us." Uri's jaw tightened. "Then I'll break down that wall. I'll face whatever truth lies in the past. If my mother truly caused your family's pain, I'll bring her to apologize, no matter how difficult it is. What I cannot allow is for you to carry guilt for loving me. That is not your burden." Her heart ached at his determination. She had dreamed of her mother's arms for so long, of feeling that unconditional warmth again. But she had also leaned on Uri through her loneliest nights. He was the one who made sure she never lost hope, the one who reminded her she deserved happiness. The choice felt impossible. As she fed her birds, she whispered, "They need me. They depend on me, just like I depend on you and my mother. Why must love come with so much pain?" Uri knelt beside her, helping scatter the feed. "Love isn't supposed to be easy," he murmured, "but it's worth fighting for. If we can endure this storm together, one day the sun will shine again. Believe in me, Tutieu. Believe in us." His words sank into her heart, a fragile seed of hope. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, whether reconciliation or deeper conflict, but in that moment, with Uri's hand steady in hers, she felt a small flame of courage return. That evening, the sky darkened quickly. Heavy clouds rolled in, and the first drops of rain tapped against the windows. Inside, the small house felt both warm and fragile, like a candle flickering against the storm. Tutieu sat by the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. Her mother's words still echoed in her mind, sharp, unyielding, filled with fear and anger. She wrapped her arms around herself, whispering, "Why can't love and family walk the same road?" Uri entered quietly, carrying a tray of tea. He placed it beside her and sat down, studying her pale face. "You've been silent all day," he said gently. "Tell me what's in your heart." She shook her head. "If I speak, I'll only bring you pain." "Pain shared is pain divided," Uri replied. He reached for her hand, but she pulled it back, trembling. "Uri, what if my mother forces me to leave? What if she never accepts you?" Her voice cracked. "I've only just found her again. I can't bear to lose her, but I also can't imagine life without you. I'm torn apart." Uri leaned closer, his eyes steady. "Then don't imagine life without me. Imagine life where we stand together, no matter what storms come. I'm not asking for perfection, Tutieu. I'm asking for your trust." Her tears slipped free. She wanted to believe him, wanted to hold on to that promise. But the memory of her mother's pain was too raw. Every time Uri's name was spoken, her mother's face hardened with sorrow. Uri noticed her hesitation and drew a deep breath. "Then I'll speak to her directly," he said at last. "If she refuses to accept me, let her refuse me to my face. At least she'll know that I'm not a coward who hides behind you. Tutio's eyes widened. No, she's not ready to face you. And if she lashes out, if she says something cruel, it will wound you deeply. Uri's jaw tightened, but his tone remained calm. I've endured worse. What matters to me is proving that I'm here, that I will not abandon you. Even if your mother cannot forgive now, maybe one day she will see the truth. The storm outside grew heavier, thunder rumbling in the distance. Tutieu shivered, not from the cold, but from the weight of destiny pressing down on her. She rose and went to the corner where her birds nested, the chicks huddled together, fragile yet alive. She adjusted their shelter, ensuring the rain couldn't seep in. They depend on me, she whispered. If I fail them, they'll be swept away. That's how I feel, Uri. As if my life is nothing but storms, and I'm trying to build shelter for everyone. My mother, you, even myself. But I'm so afraid the shelter will collapse. Uri came to her side, placing his hand on hers as she held the tiny cage. Then let me help you build it stronger. Love is not built by one person alone. It takes two, standing together, holding on when everything else falls apart. His words, steady and unwavering, broke through her despair. For the first time that day, Tutieu leaned into him, allowing her tears to fall freely onto his shoulder. He held her, not with promises of an easy road, but with the quiet strength of someone who would not let go. The night stretched long. They sat together, listening to the rain until it softened into a steady lullaby. At last, Tutieu whispered, "If you truly mean to face my mother, then I'll stand with you. But promise me one thing, Uri, no matter what she says, you won't let anger take root in your heart. She has already suffered enough." Uri nodded solemnly. "I promise. I'll meet her not with anger, but with respect, for her sake and for yours." Her chest tightened, both in fear and in hope. She knew the coming days would test them more than ever. But as Uri's hand remained clasped in hers, she felt that maybe, just maybe, love could become the bridge between two wounded hearts. And somewhere deep inside, she prayed that the same rain washing over the earth tonight could also wash away the pain of the past, making room for forgiveness to bloom. The following morning, the storm had passed, leaving the earth damp and breathing with the scent of renewal. Yet inside Tutieu's heart, the storm still raged. She moved slowly through the house, preparing breakfast, but her mind was far away. Uri watched her quietly, noticing the slight tremble in her hands as she set down the bowls. He stepped forward, gently covering her fingers with his own. "You're not alone anymore," he reminded her softly. "Don't carry everything until it breaks you." Her eyes lifted to meet his, and for a fleeting second, warmth flickered between them. But almost immediately, her expression clouded. "You say it so easily, Uri, but you don't know the depth of her scars. For her, seeing you isn't just seeing the man I love, it's seeing the family she once hated." Uri held her gaze, unflinching. "Then let me carry that hate too, until it dissolves. If your mother needs someone to blame, let it be me. I'd rather bear her anger than see you torn apart." The conviction in his voice startled her. Tears welled up again, but this time they carried a different weight. Not just sorrow, but a fragile sense of safety. For years she had battled alone, clinging to fragments of hope. But with Uri beside her, she finally felt that the burden might not crush her completely. She whispered, "If you truly mean those words, then maybe we do have a chance." Uri smiled faintly, squeezing her hand. "Not maybe. We will. Together." And as their hands intertwined beneath the soft morning light, Tutieu realized that even in the shadow of pain, love could still carve out a path forward. Uri and Tutieu's love story unfolds against a backdrop of deep family wounds and unspoken pain. Tutieu longs for her mother's warmth, yet her mother cannot forgive the past tied to Uri's family. This creates a wall of resentment that threatens to tear the couple apart. Despite the distance and bitterness, Uri remains steadfast, determined to win her mother's acceptance and carry the weight of her anger if it means protecting Tutieu's happiness. Through quiet mornings, tender gestures, and painful confessions, Tutieu struggles between loyalty to her mother and love for Uri. She wonders if love can truly survive when it is shadowed by hatred and old scars. Uri's unwavering devotion becomes her source of strength, planting hope that love might heal even the deepest wounds.